My name is Rob Brazzera from the Funnel Squad, and I appreciate you guys showing up here today. This is part two that we're talking about the difference or comparison between Clickfunnels and GrooveFunnels. Today, what we're actually going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about the builder part of things, and that's really what everybody wants to see, like how much different is in there. So we're going to go over a couple things, kind of how things are organized, and then we'll actually get into the builder and show you them side by side and show you how they're different, not kind of how they're the same. This is part two, and we're going to be talking about the builder here. So the builder, obviously, like I talked about yesterday, it's split up into GrooveCells, which for your products, and GroovePages, which is the actual builder, and that's what we're talking about today. But first, let me talk about, like I said, mentioned yesterday, the main reason why I'm switching. Right now, I have ClickFunnels paid out for the next 4 months, and then I go on to a month-to-month, and this is what my month-to-month is going to be, $408 a month, which is basically $4,900 a year. And a couple people have talked to me about GrooveFunnels, and the more I looked into it, the more it just kind of made sense, right? It's a $1,300 or a $1,400 payment one time, and it was kind of a no-brainer. I mean, 3 months it's actually paid for, so I mean, it's just like I said, it's kind of a no-brainer there. So anyway, like I said, that's the main reason why I switched. If you guys are interested in switching, if you just want to try it for free, there's a link below to get started. So let's actually get started talking about the differences between ClickFunnels and GrooveFunnels. Like we mentioned yesterday, ClickFunnels is organized by group tags, right? Each funnel, the funnels live underneath those group tags, and then each funnel is broken down into pages. You could then assign a URL to those pages. So let me show you kind of what I mean by that here. So like we said, in ClickFunnels, right, you have all these things called group tags, and you can have your funnels kind of propagated underneath there. Each funnel actually is broken down then into pages, and each one of those pages has its own URL, right? You obviously have main settings for that funnel and whatnot. So kind of how things are different in GroovePages. So GroovePages is organized by what's called sites, and a site is basically what is your domain, and then within each site is a page. And then you can edit the information, the URLs for each one of those pages, except for the home page, because that's basically the index page or the base domain. And let me kind of show you what I mean by that. So here's GroovePages, and you can see it's broken down into sites, right? And then right within that site, I can go in here and edit, and I can have different pages for that site. So I can come down here to pages, and I can see right now I just have one page from my site. The name of my site, if I come over here to publish, the name of my site is myfunnelgroove.com, okay? And my page is just the index page. So because that each domain is tied to a site, if I go to myfunnelgroove.com, right, it's going to show this page right here. That's the index page. If I go ahead and add a new page to it, let's just grab this one right here. Then I come over here to the pages. I could see now here's page 2. So I could come in here and edit this setting, and I could change the URL to whatever I want, right? This is the new URL, right? Give it obviously the page name, the page title, the stuff that you'll see up in the tabs up here. You could obviously give it tracking codes, and then give it a social proof image or a social image when you paste the actual URL in something like Facebook or whatnot. So that's all here, and that's kind of the way things are kind of laid out. So each site is a standalone entity. So you basically have your site, and then within your site you have all your pages laid out. So if that makes sense, cool. If you have any question or anything, just go ahead and drop me a comment in here, and I will do my best to answer them. So let's go back to here quick. All right, so now let's talk about the actual page hierarchy here. So in ClickFunnels, right, you basically have your sections, which are in green. Each section contains a row, which are in blue, and those rows sometimes can contain one or more columns. And then those columns are what actually hold the elements, and the elements are all in orange. It's like we have our big main section, which is in green right here. So that's basically what your section is. It's broken down into rows, right? You can have one row, you can have multiple columns within a row, and then within each of those rows, you can have an actual element, right? So there's basically just three hierarchies there. So you have your section, your row, and then your actual element. Okay. Now in GrooveFunnels, it's like I said, it's definitely a little bit different. So in GrooveFunnels, basically what you have is you have a page that's broken down into blocks, and then blocks have what's called containers. Those containers can then hold other containers, it can hold elements, they can hold a bunch of different things. And what it really does, it gives you a whole bunch of flexibility when you're actually designing a page. So I'll show you a quick demo of kind of what I mean right there. So we'll come into this page or this site right here. What we're going to do is we're going to go into pages, and we're going to go ahead and add a new page. And we are actually going to do a completely blank canvas here. Okay, so the way that things are kind of broken out here, so you start off with a completely blank canvas, and you basically have to add a block at this point. And there's two types of blocks. There's wireframes, which are essentially, it's an empty block, and they can be either just an empty container. They can have a whole bunch of different other things associated with them. But the main thing is that you have to have some type of block in here. So we'll start off with just an empty block, and this whole block will give us one container. Okay, and I could put a bunch of different blocks together. Like I can have this one right here, and you can see it has two empty containers. I could take this one right here, and I could drop that in there. So I have basically three blocks. This has one container, this has two containers, this has three containers. Now within those containers, I can put whatever I want. I can put an element. I can break things out into even more blocks. I can do any type of header. I could put text. I could put list. All the elements are essentially just normal elements that you see in any type of builder. The point is that you can actually really get some pretty granular stuff in here. For example, so I have a three rows right here. I can actually, or I'm sorry, a one row that's got three columns in it. I can actually take one of those columns and actually break it down into four, right? So now I have a 4, 5, 6 row column right here. I could even take that down, and I can break it down one more and drop this into here. So see, you can really get pretty granular with the way that the builder is here. And then what's kind of nice too is that they have a whole bunch of different blocks that are predefined for you. So you can basically go through all of them right here. They have a bunch of what they call alert bars. They have a bunch of content stuff. So what's kind of nice is that you can actually drag and drop and make a site here fairly quickly. So let me do this. Let me delete a couple of these. So the builder's a little weird. It definitely took a little bit getting used to. The colors are a little difficult as well. But there are some kind of cool features on here. And let me see if I can get rid of a couple of these right here. Let me get rid of this last one. There we go. Okay. Okay, so we can come in here to blocks, and what we can do is we can lay out a really quick page right here. So let's go into, let's see, let's start with a cover. Drop this right here. Right, kind of gives us a headline. Let's do some content. All right, and then we do a little feature compare. All right, and then we'll put a footer in here. Okay, so really kind of quick right there. Now pay attention to down here on the bottom, and you'll actually see as you go through there, it'll tell you where kind of everything is laid out. And the browser or the builder is actually kind of cool, because if I click on an element all the way inside, and if I click on this icon right here, it'll actually bring me out one more. So down here you can see that right here is in the body, in a block, in an element, in a container, and it's the FA icon. If I click on this, right, it'll highlight the next one out, so you can see what container it's in there, and I could modify everything over here. If I click it again, it'll give me the full element. If I click it again, it'll give me the full block. So it's kind of nice. You can kind of navigate through here and figure out kind of what you want to do. The big difference that I've noticed is the amount of control that you have on things. So you have control on pretty much every type of element, starting from all the way down here. You can see I have access to basically what my icon is. This one here happens to be an icon element. And then I have all different styles. I can style everything. I could, whatever type of text. The background, I have all control of this one. If I go up one more, now I have this element right here. I have control over that whole element. So I have a lot of control over a lot of different things. Now, it's a good and bad thing because obviously the more control you have, the more you could really kind of mess things up. And sometimes the more complicated it is. So I know they're going to be changing a couple things as far as like having real-time sliders and stuff like that. But for right now, it's pretty much just in layout and spacing. You come down here and you have your outlines. You click on whatever you want to change and you just slide in and out, in and out. Pretty self-explanatory. Same thing with the layout right here. You could basically choose the type of layout you want to have in there, either display or block, and then all the different directions and whatnot. So again, it's just about just playing around with a couple different things and figuring out how they work. But the big change is definitely some of the layout stuff, because like I said, in here, it's a matter of you click here and you really have control of the top margin. If you click on the row, right, you have control of the top margin, and then the padding's on the inside. And then same thing with the actual section. Same thing, you have the top and then you have the padding on the insides. So the layout is kind of simple in here. In Groove, you definitely have a lot more control over things to a granular level. So definitely a little bit, like I said, a little bit harder sometimes, a little bit easier. But you have pretty much you could customize everything here, which is really kind of nice. So that's really the big differences in the way that the builders work side by side. There's definitely some little nuances that have definitely a couple gotchas. I'm going to be kind of doing those probably tomorrow. And then also the way that you actually handle putting a domain to an actual site. I have a separate video on that. There'll be a link below on that. And it'll actually just walk you through exactly how you do it. It's a little bit different in here and in ClickFunnels, and we kind of compare the two there as well. So.